Welcome, love. This is Sex, Drugs, and Sound Bowls, and I'm Jessie Siren, here to stir the cauldron with raw psycho-spiritual talks on healing, plant medicine, sex, motherhood, and the sacred chaos that cracks us open and lights the way forward. Expect deep truth and raw feels that leave you inspired, held in your humanness, and ready to take your rightful place as the creator of your own experience. With a deep breath and an open heart, let's be all the way here now. Hello, and welcome back to Sex, Drugs, and Sound Bowls. I'm Jessie Siren, reporting live, mid-chrysalis, mid-dissolution, mid-mess, and just fresh on the other side of a big journey. Making Little Bear's birthday soup right now. We're starting with an onion. And I'm just gonna reflect. I'm doing a little reflecting today because yesterday absolutely took me apart. Like a puzzle into pieces. And I have some reflecting to do. The last journey I did was a 5-MeO journey in October, and it was earth-shattering. And I'm going to do a special podcast that's just about that experience. But basically, I met God in that journey and I fucking wrestled. I didn't want to go back to the light. I didn't want to merge. And I met insanity, and I met chaos, and I met my fear. And in the wake of that, oh, these onions. And in the wake of that journey, well, the message that came through in that journey was surrender. Surrender even more. And I had a hard time surrendering. I didn't want to let go. A leak, a big fat leak. And I had a lot of flashbacks in the weeks that followed. Like a resurgence of the 5-MeO energy in my body. And each time I went back to that place that had been so terrifying in the journey, I was able to practice this surrendering, this letting go, this trusting. And I could feel like the molecules in my body rearranging, my genetic coding shifting, changing. And I could feel the fear kind of rippling out and moving on. But there were dreams, and there were parts of me that still felt like they were stuck in the room where I did that 5-MeO. It was so earth-shattering. And so beautiful at the same time. It showed me all the places where I was holding myself back, all the places in a way that was still so afraid, and that fear was ruling my life. And I had a dream, a nagging, the dream that you have that just keeps coming back and back. And the dream was that I needed to go back for another ceremony and maybe take a high enough dose that I didn't have a choice to whether or not I was surrendering. Basically, the choice would be made, ahead of time, and gather whatever part of my soul had been lost there, or a piece of me that had been left there. And when I was reflecting on this dream with a friend, he offered a really beautiful sentiment that maybe my body was screaming, no, I'm not ready to go back. I'm not ready. I'm still integrating all the goodness, the juiciness from that journey, all the fear from that journey. And he was like, well, what if this is about, he knew a little bit about the story of that journey and that experience. And he said, what if this is about learning to surrender? And are there ways you can do that outside of medicine? Can you, bring it into kink, bring it into the bedroom? Can you find ways to just set yourself up in a safe container where you get to practice letting go at your own pace? And it was such a beautiful and wise sentiment. Thank you, Stephen. And so I kind of set out to do that, but this week Matt said he wanted to do a journey, and he did it. And all of a sudden I felt like, oh, I want to do a journey too, with Mushroom as my old friend. And I felt inspired and called to it, doing it in my own space, doing it with him by my side the whole time. And I haven't journeyed like that with him. He's never been there in the room with me. He's my anchor, my rock, my root. And so last night at 5 p.m., leaks going in, fennel. This is a giant bulb. We don't need to do the whole thing. Just enough to get some of that flavor in there. It's so yummy. So at 5 p.m. I took 2.89 grams of Cloud Seeker. Cloud Seeker is a very potent mushroom that's probably close to about like 6 grams of Golden Teacher. And I took it and I went upstairs and I journaled a little bit, and I met my fear, and I asked what it was trying to tell me, if it was telling me I shouldn't do this. And it said that it just meant that I was in uncharted territory, that I could trust the initial like excitement, there was an excitement underneath the fear, and that it just meant that I was going somewhere I'd never been before, the fear of not knowing. And it's so human, and it's so normal, and it felt very reassuring to have this conversation. And by the time I finished this back and forth, I felt the medicine coming on, and I lie down and I put my headphones on, and I had this playlist picked out, and I put this eye mask on, and I could smell like mildew on the eye mask, and the music was so overwhelming right away. I just took everything off, and I lay there with my eyes closed, and I disappeared. No. Matt was not in the room with me at that point. We thought maybe the medicine would take a little longer to come on. And so I called for him because I felt like I couldn't breathe anymore. I felt this sense of ego dissolution coming on as a not self, there was no self to breathe, and I still had this ego sense of desire for breath, and I panicked and I called to him, Matt, come. And he came and he sat by me and he held my hand. And when I closed my eyes, at first it was mushroomy, like tongues and eyes, and then it was energy. It was pure energy. And with my eyes closed, it felt too overwhelming to even consider opening my eyes. With my eyes closed, I just became. There was no more me. There was no more we. There was no more anything. I became a sensation. And I remember, God, it was like as if I was in the experience, immersed, and also outside of it, watching it happen. I think they call this dissociation. But I remember being like, oh, I think I was saying, I'm so overwhelmed, it's so much, it feels like so much. And then feeling Matt's hand on my hand and being able to go back into it and let go a little more. And I just became pure sensation. And I had this feeling of like seeing and knowing that life is so much of like resisting and playing around and playing in the field of like not wanting to be uncomfortable, and just, we're cold and we put a blanket on, and we're too warm and we take the blanket out. Just kind of this like mundane, it felt like this distracting game we played, like an inability to sit with discomfort and just constantly keeping ourselves busy. And so I don't know, I didn't feel like I had a choice, but I just let the waves of sensation become me. And I was cold and I was hot. There was fire in my veins. The fire in my veins is something that happens to me a lot on mushrooms, and I wonder about that. And it felt unbearable. It felt like I couldn't handle it. It was so intense, so much sensation. And I don't know how long that went on for, but eventually I opened my eyes and I felt this desire to like move, to get out of the room I was in. I was craving nature, and I think I was mumbling under my breath through a lot of this, like, I'm not meant to do this. I'm not meant to do this. I'm not I am not a person who should be doing this. And I wanted to hear myself, and I wanted to believe myself. And then there was also a part of me that's like, you're so scared. You don't know. You don't know right now the merit, the value of this experience. And you don't know what you're capable of surviving and enduring and sitting with. And I stood up and I wandered around a little bit, and Matt kind of followed me. And I remember closing my eyes again and being lost, like just worlds within worlds within worlds. And it felt like, it's hard to explain because it wasn't like a dream even, it was just, I don't know how to explain it. I can't explain it. And I went through the ancient mystery school and the ancient mystics. And I saw the Buddha and I saw Jesus. And I didn't see them in their physical form, I felt their energy. I saw the oracle. And I saw how many different ways there are. Many paths, one light. That we meet here. In this mystery school of life. And the lesson for me was just love. And I felt this overwhelming compassion and grief. And I recalled like people that I had felt judgment towards or harsh feelings towards, and I just loved them. I just loved them. And I saw, God, the loops that I was stuck in. I remember recalling, right, in and out experiences, eyes closed, dissolution, pure sensation, pure energy, mystery school, open my eyes, compassion for humanity, a feeling of like this life being so paper thin, a feeling of like knowing that it was all a construct of my mind, that I was the creatrix, seeing the loops that I've been stuck in the way I've been treating people. Nico had been picking on his lips, and picking so bad they were bleeding. And rather than just being sweet and gentle the way I knew I should be and saying like, oh baby, you will, well, I did start there. Instead of leaving it at that, like, you won't pick forever. You're just having a hard time. Let's go take care of them. When you feel like picking, let's put some oil on them. Or checking in with his nervous system and just holding him if he's picking it. He doesn't feel safe, he doesn't feel seen. Like tuning into that energy of intuiting that he needs something from me. Fennel going in. I became panic and instead scolded him and pulled his arm away and said, don't you see what you're doing to your body? You're hurting yourself. And like feeling that there was a knowing that I was perpetuating the thing that I was trying to stop. And even in the knowing, it just felt like compulsive, like I couldn't stop. And so I remember just asking, why do I do that? And then closing my eyes and disappearing again. And then opening my eyes and seeing Matt. And then really seeing Matt. Seeing Matt and his face. And just the occasional beatbox from him. The occasional hum from him. Just like this steady, calm, beautiful being. And I remember at one point just asking if he'll cuddle me. And climbing on top of him and feeling him and feeling this cycle. Oh, it's like there's so many ways I feel like my life had been preparing me for this journey, or like giving me the foreshadowing, or giving me the lessons before the big lessons. And this sounds superficial and silly, but I took a couple weeks off of social media and off my phone in general. And then I just one day got on and changed my, bio. It says all these things about you. Oh, she's a shadow eater and an alchemist and a blah, blah, blah. And I just changed it to lover. I just felt like somewhere in the middle of everything, of the quiet, I just felt into like, that's the thing that matters. That's it. Everything else is just nothing. And that was so much of the lesson that was coming through for me on this journey. And I remember seeing Matt, and all of this felt so disembodied. Like, it didn't feel like me. I could hear my voice, and I just wasn't me, but I was me. I can't explain it. I'm gonna saute these fennel onion leeks with butter, the good stuff, the Kerrygold. As I was looking into Matt's eyes and like smelling him, I felt like I was able to like smell him and see him for like the first time beyond these walls that I'd had up from, I think I said to him, like, I don't think I've ever really smelled you. And he was like, why? And I was like, I've been so hurt by this masculine. And as I was saying that, I saw this cycle of how the masculine, which there's a little man in every woman, and there's a little woman in every man. We all are this beautiful, unique blueprint of masculine, feminine energies dancing inside. But I saw that the masculine has this urge to guard, to protect, to preserve. And that this deep desire to watch the feminine blossom in safety. And that the feminine's ultimate desire was to blossom in safety and to nurture and nourish through that blossoming. And I thought of this cycle I see perpetuated everywhere in myself. I saw my own energies. I saw in the world this, what came first, the chicken or the egg battle, where I had this image of like the earth and mining, and how the masculine was just extracting and taking from the feminine, and the feminine was becoming bare and hard and cold. And so because the masculine couldn't get the nourishment, the flowering it wanted from the feminine, it kept extracting, and the feminine being extracted from and not feeling safe kept this energy of coldness, of guardedness, of barrenness, and how those energies just kept kind of spinning, stuck. And I saw the power I had as the feminine and the masculine to guard myself, to protect myself, to honor myself in safety, so that my feminine can blossom and it can reach out and touch and nourish and heal the ones around me. And I saw how that act of integrating the healed masculine and feminine within me would start to ultimately change my life, change my community, change the world. Ripples, ripples, ripples. I felt very unemotional about all this. There was no emotion, sensation, energy. So we're gonna mix that around a bunch. Carrots being chopped, celery being chopped. They're gonna go in with the onions and the other goodies. So there didn't really feel like a lot of emotion with that. There just felt like, and even when I was smelling Matt, I felt like I became smell. Like I wasn't like, oh, I love you and I love the way you smell. I was just like experiencing it with no judgment, with no emotion attached to it. And there was something really liberating about that. And then I wanted to leave the room again, and I remember jumping on Matt's back on the stairs and just feeling like playful and fun and connected and feeling rushed in and saying like, oh, could it always be like this? And he just, so man of such few words, I guess so, yeah, it could be. If you want it to be. And then going outside and looking up at the stars and the moon and feeling, oh, like a fishbowl. Just surrounded, encompassed, held. And then coming in and seeing the house and the pictures on the wall and feeling so dissociated from my own life and feeling like, again, it was just such a mental construct. Meaningless. Like I stepped outside of meaning and was able to kind of just see objectively. And I wanted so badly, I wanted so badly to come back to the meaning, to the embodied experience. I I wanted so badly to come back, and I thought, I'll never come back. This is it now. Close my eyes, and just worlds upon worlds upon worlds. And I had this feeling that I have often when I'm in deep inner space, outer space, where the place where they merge, like, we're not meant to know everything. I'm not meant to know everything. Like lifting the veil, seeing the inner workings, knowing everything. I felt like timeless, like I knew present, past, and future. I'd seen it all. I could see it all. And there was no joy in it. It was devoid of meaning. It was devoid of joy. And I just kept thinking, just let me go back. Let me go back. Why? What have I been searching for? I won't run away anymore. I want this life. I want my life. And then back with Matt, looking at him and having this experience of just like being so empowered. Feeling just how much power I had. Feeling and seeing the pattern of my life and how I played. And this is, right, this is sensitive. But I could see the role that I played in each trauma I had experienced. How I had allowed. How I had invited. How I had put myself in the room with people that would hurt me. How I put myself in the room with energies that my gut and my body said, no, not here, not here. And then I also felt grateful for the learnings that came from them. And through that wisdom, just deeply enriched and empowered, and had this sense of just unfuckwithableness. And then lying with Matt, heart to heart, face to face. His sweet face. I kept asking like how much time. I felt timeless. I felt like I didn't believe I would ever come back. I felt this almost hopelessness. And he would say something like, not very much time has passed. But for me, it had been thousands, millions, infinity of years, just timeless. But somehow asking and hearing him say that time was passing incrementally gave me a sense of hope that maybe I would come back. I'm talking to Matt. In retrospect, he said I didn't seem very far gone at all. I was pretty chill and calm. I wasn't talking much. I just was having all these experiences inside. I just felt the dissolution of dimensionality, just moving in and out through all the different dimensions of sensation and emotion and energy, of wave, of particle. Oh, and nausea, so much nausea moving through my body. So much nausea. One minute, the smell of Matt would be bringing me pleasure, and the next it would be so intense, I felt like I would throw up. And then I was just gazing at his eyes and seeing him, really seeing him. I just loved him so much. I just loved him so much. And as I looked at him, I remember just something cracking in my chest and saying to him, like, you're just so beautiful. And it breaks my heart. It's just so beautiful. It breaks my heart. And his eyes welled up with tears. And he held me and he said, why does it break your heart? And I couldn't say it then, but I just felt that because you are worthy of all the love in the universe. Because you deserve more than I can ever give you. And I could see him being seen and how important it was, how nourishing it was for his soul. But then there was a part of me that said, like, that knew and said, like, but that's the magic of life, is that we forget and we remember. We come back again and again. I felt like there was this fear that the moment would be over and I wouldn't see him anymore coming from him. And I could feel him so deeply. He spooned me and held me. And I closed my eyes and I could just feel waves of emotion from him. I met with his guilt. I met with his shame. And I loved him, and I loved him, and I loved him through it. I met his safety. I met his patience. I met his love. And I remember closing my eyes at some point and saying, like, we don't need words. Can you feel me? Can you feel me here? And through this whole thing, for someone who sound has meant so important to me, it's meant so much in my life, sound was overwhelming. This experience was so much about feeling. I didn't want sound. I was keenly aware of how sound can manipulate, how it creates a kind of soundscape, how it introduces more, energy. And I just wanted to see what was with me. And as I was having this experience too of inner space, closing my eyes and going back in, I was having this experience of wondering, is this the nature of everything or is this my nature? And I was coming up against ugliness and fear and just kind of the energy. I don't know what the word for it would be, but like a pond, like a river of rushing water that becomes blocked and stagnant. This energy, just weird, just this weird energy inside of me. And feeling shame and guilt for that. And feeling shame and guilt that I wasn't enjoying this experience of ego dissolution, that I didn't want to go. That the very thing I'd been seeking, my God, fuck, was trying to protect me. Oh, through the veil. And I remember looking at Matt and seeing that he was God. And I remember looking at Matt, looking at me, and seeing that I was God. And Matt said, there's a little God in everyone, to quote our son Indio. And I felt that. And then, there's probably a million things I'm forgetting. Reality started to settle. Carrots going in. And I noticed and started to just get ecstatic. When I gave birth to Nico, I was so terrified that he would get stuck and we would die. I would die, he would die, something bad would happen because of what had happened through Jude's birth. When I remember the push, like labor was so sweet and beautiful. It wasn't painful. I didn't have back labor for the first time. And when it finally came time for the push, I was so scared because I didn't want to find out if this was the moment of truth. And when I finally let go, because I couldn't hold on any longer, and he burst out like a cannonball, I exclaimed so exuberantly. I have video footage of it, of just squealing, I'm so happy, I'm so happy, I'm so happy. And it was this, this joyous release, like an ecstatic release, like I'd never experienced before, just pure joy embodied. And that's as close of an experience as I can explain for the one that I had coming back from this journey. I became ecstatic. I remember just like monkey style, Matt was sitting there and I grabbed him and I was wrapped around him and I was just squealing and crying and choking and I'm coming back. I can feel myself coming back. I thought I would never come back. I'm just so grateful to be here. This is the life I want. I don't want to escape it. I don't want to run away from it. This is the life I want. And just feeling these undulating waves, rippling waves of joy and of gratitude and of a newfound commitment to life and to compassion and to love. And later that night when the kids came in for a good night, snuggles and kisses, I just saw them each so pure, so sweet, so tender. All of them just craving that feminine energy, that healed feminine, that nourishment, that blossoming, that attention to be seen, to be loved. So I'm doing this experiment. I'm going to call it Mad Love March. And I'm going to love like a fucking mad person. I'm gonna love myself. I'm going to activate the little man within me to protect and honor and guard my boundaries, to keep myself in impeccable safety. And through that, allow the inner well, right? The rose of the feminine inside of me to blossom. To blossom and bless and nourish everyone around me. Let's see what happens. Okay, carrots and celery going in. And then some zucchini, some garbanzo beans, some potatoes, some green beans, a can of these yummy, yummy, yummy Cento San Marzano organic tomatoes. Instant pot for like 5 minutes, done, delicious. Broth, don't forget the broth. I just use bone broth if I've made some, which I did, and I froze it and I don't know how it to take out right. It won't be thawed in time, but or just some chicken stock or veggie stock. And you got a delicious, nourishing, grounding meal, just what I need right now. I still feel so grateful. And spent the day with my kids, who were all very sensitive. I think they could feel how vulnerable and sensitive I was. So there was a lot of meltdowns. I might have snapped and shouted a few times. So much for, it's not March yet. So much for Mad Love March. But I'm human still. And that's what I kept coming back to last night. Like, fuck, I'm human. And I love it. And I love how messy it is. I remember looking at Matt in the eye one time and saying, and wondering, is this a memory? Is this the thing? Do memories exist? At some point, I saw all the memories of the collective all together. Felt them. I don't know how to explain it. And so mine were just a part of the matrix, and they just felt, again, so paper thin. But I remember saying, like, I remember going on this trip with my guitar and no money. I bought a plane ticket or a train ticket to Portland. And I wanted to see if I could, with no money, busk in Portland and make enough money to come back and just see what it was like. I'd been reading Kerouac, On the Road, all those things. I just thought, adventure, just me, myself, see what I'm capable of. Jumped on the train, had my journal, had my guitar, decided to interview people on the way about what love was. What is love? What is it? And I remember one woman on the train, she was with her husband, and I remember her face, beautiful, weathered, dark hair, wavy. She looked at her husband and she smiled and she said, love is, sometimes I want to kiss the ground he walks on. Sometimes I want to spit on it. And I remember saying this to Matt and just being like, that's it. It is not sad, it's sweet, it's amazing. It means we get to keep being reborn into love. We get to keep contracting and then expanding. And it's in that expanding, right, that sweetness comes. And it's only in the contrast that we can experience either. It's all so good. It's all so good. And I saw how shame was such a detrimental energy to put out in the world. Such a detriment. I saw how it kept people locked in these self-harming cycles. Okay, that's all. Remember, your story, your journey, they matter more than you know. Every act of self-love, no matter how small, carries echoes and ripples, a vibration, a frequency of authentic love. This authentic love can't help but change everything and everyone it comes into contact with. Love yourself. Change the world. Let the little man inside of your woman guard, protect, and honor the feminine in safety. And let the feminine inside of you blossom. Nourish and bless everyone around you. If you're a man, let the little woman inside of you, blossom, nurture and nourish, and feel it invigorating your commitment to honor, cherish, protect, guard the feminine in you and all around you. Mwah. This podcast is here to share stories and spark curiosity, not to replace professional advice. Before diving into any psychedelics or practices we talk about here, check in with your own deep knowing.
your healthcare provider, and know your local laws. Anchor in your own truth before reaching out for anything or anyone. That is the real power. And one more thing, I make this show just for you. If you're loving it, drop me a comment or review on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube. Let me know I should keep showing up. Grateful to be here with you.